Welcome back to the video Darkroom. In this short video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Playhead Position Counter to make editing easier and faster. Now, you've probably not thought much about the Playhead Position Counter, and you may not even know what it is. I don't think many other editors have either, as I couldn't find anyone explaining it on YouTube. So hopefully I'll be showing you something that you don't already know and that will be useful to you to make your editing easier once you know these features. So first of all, where is it? Well, I have Premiere open here and I'm in the Essentials workspace. So you can find that now in Premiere 2023. It should be at the top of your list of workspaces. And if you set that, you'll have a similar layout to what is on my screen at the moment. Here is where the Playhead Position Counter is located. Wherever your timeline is, you'll find the Playhead Position Counter at the top left-hand corner of that. And here I have a 24 frames per second sequence in my timeline. So that's where the Playhead Position Counter is located. Now, what is the Playhead Position Counter? So, well, it's this little counter here that is composed of hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. The number of frames that is displayed is dependent on what kind of sequence you have. So I have a 25 frame per second sequence here. And if I step back from 1 minute, 12 seconds, and 0 frames, you'll see that it goes to 24 frames, and then as it reaches 25, it will flip over onto the next second. And if I have a 24 frames per second sequence and I advance up to 23, you'll see that after 23, when it comes to 24, it advances on to the next second that's there. So that's basically what is contained in the Playhead Position Counter, and it relates to clearly where the playhead, which is this little line that is here on the timeline, wherever you move it, you will get the exact time and number of frames displayed in the counter that is here. That's basically what it is. And now I want to move on to how you can use it. First of all, how to enter data into it. I've mentioned that it's composed of hours, minutes, seconds, and frames, and they're all divided by a colon. So you can highlight that and put in, for example, 1 minute, 10 seconds, and 15 frames. And it will move the playhead to that exact position on your timeline. You can use colons to separate it, or you could use full stops to separate it. So you could put in 2 minutes, full stop, 10 seconds, and 10 frames into that, and it would move exactly the way that you want it to, as if it had colons. It will always display colons, but you can put in full stops, and you can actually leave out the separators. But if you leave out the separators, you just need to be aware that Premiere will interpret every 2 digits as being a part of the counter. So for example, if you move to the position 5, that will really be the 5th frame that is there. If you move to the position 20, it'll move you to 20 frames. If you move to position 200, that will be interpreted as 2 seconds and 0 frames. So you can type that in and you move immediately to 2 seconds and 0 frames. And if we wanted to move to 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so let's just highlight this, put in 2 minutes, 10 seconds, and 15 frames, and it moves immediately to that position on the timeline. So you don't need to put in the separators if you don't want to, just type in the digits. And one more thing that you need to know about this is that if you type more than the expected highest value into any of these particular sections of the counter, let's say you put in 48 frames, then it will move you to 2 seconds. So that's twice 24 that's there. If you put in 70 frames, and I just type in 70, it automatically knows that that is 2 seconds and 22 frames. You can, for example, if you want to put in 7500, that would be 75 seconds, which it knows to interpret as 1 minute, 15 seconds. So you can go over the number that is expected in any of the sections of the counter. Now, The big thing that is an advantage in using this counter, as well as being able to go to a particular place in it, is that you can use plus and minus. So if you're at a particular location in your timeline and you want to move forward, say 10 seconds, you just put in plus 10, 0, 0, and it automatically moves you forward 10 seconds, and that can be really useful if you want to time some elements that are in your sequence on the timeline. You can go backwards in the same way, so let's go backwards a minute. So I can just type in 60 seconds and no frames, and I should have put the minus at the beginning of that, which I just do now, and it basically jumps back 1 minute. So you can go forwards and backwards as you wish by typing in plus or minus, and that's where the really useful feature of this Playhead Position Counter comes in for making your editing easier and faster. So let's suppose that we wanted this first clip that's in my timeline to run for just 20 seconds. Well, the easiest way to do that would be to type in 20:00 and move the playhead to there. And then if you type the W key, it will cut from the playhead to the end of the clip, just like that. And you've now got a 20-second clip. And that's easy to do because that is the first clip that's on the timeline. I'm just going to press Ctrl Z and undo that operation. But let's suppose you're not at the beginning of the timeline. Let's suppose you're somewhere like this and you want that clip just to run for 2 seconds. Well, then the easiest thing that you can do here is select the counter and type in plus 200, which will move you 2 seconds forward, and then press the W key and you've cut that clip to being just 2 seconds. And again, I'll type Ctrl Z and just undo that edit. So you can cut a clip to the exact length that you want it to be, not speeding it up or slowing it down, just simply applying a cut to it. We didn't need to use the W key, which is to do a ripple delete from the playhead to the end of the clip. You could have used the razor tool, which would be Control or Command K to cut the clip and then delete the end part out, but using W to delete to the end of a clip, or using Q to delete back to the beginning of a clip, is a good way to do that. That's a way to do it from the beginning of the clip. If I press the down arrow and move to the end of the clip, supposing I just wanted to have the last 3 seconds of that clip included here, I can select the counter, put in minus 300, which is minus 3 seconds, and then press the Q key, which will cut to the beginning of the clip. And I now have the last 3 seconds of that clip included in my timeline. I'll press Ctrl Z to undo that edit. So that's one example of how you might want to use that to edit, trim clips to the length that you want. I'm going to move to the end of my timeline now and show you how you might use the program counter to put in keyframes into your animations, which is also an extremely useful way of doing it. So let's say we wanted to have a little stopwatch sweep hand on it, and we want that hand to rotate once every second. Then in that case, we'll just draw the hand in here. So let's just make it really thin like that. So we now have a hand in place there on the timeline. I'm just going to extend that clip out so that it runs as long as we need it to. I'm going to go and move the anchor point because I want it to rotate around just the base of the hand that's there. So I'm just going to move that anchor point to there. We want this to rotate once a second, and let's say we want it to rotate 10 times and then stop. So what we want to do is we want to animate the rotation here, and so we just press the stopwatch and that will put in a keyframe for rotation. What I then need to do is move forwards 10 seconds. So I just put in plus 10:00 for 10 seconds and no frames, and that's the point that we're there. And we want it to rotate 10 times, so I'll just put in here 10x for a rotation 10 times. Going to press the up arrow to go back to the beginning of that clip and press space to play it, and you'll see that it's rotating once a second. It will rotate 10 times and then it will stop. So that's a simple way in which you can set keyframes into your video, and you can set them at the exact points where you want them to be by using the Playhead Position Counter and using plus and minus to move forwards or backwards the amount that you want. So hopefully you'll see that that's a really interesting and easy way to move keyframes around, to get clips the length that you want them to be, to advance or go back by a certain number of minutes, seconds, or frames in your sequence on your timeline. If you found that useful, please give the video a like. Really appreciate all the help that we can get for the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.